Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and you have found Tao of the Day. I don't even have the Tao open at the moment, other than the translations that I use. But I'm going to go ahead and open my Tao right now, the translation that I have been working on over the last number of weeks. And we'll be able to, there it is, we'll be able to talk a little bit about the Tao Te Ching. So the Tao is an ancient text written about 600 BCE. Now I say this almost every day, so if you've heard this before, my apologies. You can get me to stop by coming up and picking a number between 1 and 81. But the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written about 600 BCE. That is around the same time scholars say that the Old Testament was written. This is an important time in our history because this is when there was firm footing. I would say there was firm footing in the logic brain, right? As a species, as a planet, as a universe, maybe even we all kind of go through different evolutionary stages through with consciousness, not just with the body. The body's evolutionary changes have been documented, but when we talk about evolutionary change through consciousness, we look at the survival aspects of living, and then the relationship aspects of living, and then the logic aspects of living. And the next would be the spirit and the whole, like the non-dual aspects of living. And that's where we're moving towards. But when we look at what was written, that was the language, although it started within the relationship portion of our conscious development, the written word is part of the logic portion of our development because it's logical to be able to maintain certain stories, to maintain words and to write them down and to have all of that. And so we had a firm footing in the logic brain while the relationship brain was handing off control to it. And so that was happening for a millennia or so before written language came about, maybe even more, maybe 3 or 4 millennia. And then written language came about, farming came about, cultivating, all of those things that, have to do with logic. And we started to develop all of these writing things. And so when we look at the Old Testament, when we look at the Tao Te Ching, when we look at all of these different aspects of written words, especially as they relate to what was to what will be, we have to look at the Tao in a very specific way from the aspect of what is the Tao telling us not to forget, right? What is the Old Testament telling us not to forget? What are we moving towards, and what can we garner from this information that we've been given from that day and age? Right? It's like these words are kind of like a time machine. We can go back and see how people were thinking and how people were developing. And when we look at the Tao, we look at it as a praising of what was before and a looking at what's coming up and a bit of a, hey, the truth. We know the truth, and it's not the direction that you're going. And that is what the Tao sort of implies. It implies this idea that we're not advancing. Like we're advancing our consciousness, but we're not advancing our connection. And that is what the Tao warns about, because it was written from this perspective of, the story of how it was written is Lao Tzu was going to leave his town, is the area that he was living in. The king, or the person in charge of the area, was like, you're our smartest dude, and we really want um, you to leave behind some information about how we can exist without you? Without How can we exist in the best way? Because you, once again, you're the smartest guy around. And he wrote what we now know as the Tao Te Ching. And the Tao talks, it opens up by saying, look, I know you want an explanation, but there's no explanation that I can give that will tell you what Tao is. And then it says, what you see in the world is just manifestation. But Tao is something bigger than that. You are something bigger than that. Everything that is has a connection to Tao, and it's bigger than what you expect. And then it talks about weakening people so that they can become strong leaders, but not leaders that need followers, right? And then it goes into all of these different aspects of living, all of these different aspects of how we experience life, and how it could and how it can benefit us. But that is, once again, in the cusp of that, moving from the relationship to the logic aspects of life. So if you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to pick, I would love to read a Tao with you. And in the meantime, I will pick a number. And I have the benefit of looking at titles because I've titled all of mine. So I'm picking 42, holding both male and female. That drew me in today. Tao gives birth to universes. Universes give birth to planets. Planets give birth to beings. And beings give birth to everything else. Tao is the great mother. All else holds both male and female. By all things embracing both, harmony is achieved. To feel alone is avoided by men, yet that is where no identity resides. The master holds no identity. She embraces her aloneness, realizing when she is at one with herself, she is at one with all things. So holding both male and female. You, no matter how masculine or how feminine you are, hold both male and female aspects. Right? The fact that you have a body is masculine. That which is in your body, your consciousness, that which is deep within you, is feminine. Now, your body may be the body of a female, right? So you may have a feminine body, but the body as a thing is masculine. The thing that makes it move about, the consciousness, the activity in the void of your body, the spirit that you are, the consciousness that you hold, that's the feminine. That's the whole. That's the yielding. Now you can break that up and separate, like your emotions, right? You're being sad or you're being happy. Those could be masculine, while all the rest of the things behind that can be very feminine. Mojo's going to join me and he's going to pick a number, and I can always return to 42. Mojo, how are you, man? I
Hey,
cannot.
Martin John,
There you are. Hey.
how you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm well. Just, doing my thing, reading the Tao.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's go with 33.
33. 33 is titled, You Are Not Manifestation.
All right.
Study others and gain some knowledge. Study yourself and gain deep wisdom. Controlling others takes strength, but controlling your ego and desires takes power and perseverance. Knowing that you have enough gives you wealth. Grasping for money and love forces you to conform. Embrace who you are and stay centered in that. And although you will die, you will not perish.
Whew, good stuff. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your thoughts?
I love the contrast between power and force, and I've heard this from several different sub sources now. So there's obviously a message in there for me, and uh, one of the scenes that one of the things I did recently that this reminds me of, I went and saw Avatar, the 2009 version, with my daughter who had not seen it, in anticipation of the new one coming out. And I was seeing it through different eyes this time than when I first saw it, because of who I have become. And I was seeing that all of the beauty and the resources of Pandora was available if, through diplomacy and friendship and love, or the other, the company would take it by brute force with power and authority and machinery and ammunition and all that kind of stuff. But as the end result of that was just destruction. And I thought, what a
Yeah.
great metaphor that ties right into what the Tao is saying today, is that, the things that are really the deep things that matter, that last, that are eternal, they're beautiful and they're available, but not by force, but by strength, right? Through the power of persistence and resisting the easily graspable temptations of the external world. So I love that contrast between force and power.
Yeah, that there's that book of Force and Power, I think it's called, or something like that. It's about like the difference between trying to force something versus trying to allow the power to like be worked through you, like, and
Yes,
to be at your disposal because you have it at your disposal at all times, right? But and it's I love how all of these things come together. So the first lines here: study others and gain some knowledge. Study yourself and gain deep wisdom. Let's look at Avatar, right? Like the whole idea was like, oh, we're gonna study others. They have what we want,
yes,
right? And we're gonna study others, and we have knowledge that they have what we want. So we want to go and get them. But there's very little from the company, right? There's very little like inner work. Like they're like, well, why do we need this? Can we come up with a different solution? Can we work with can we do these things in a way that is not force? And it's
yeah,
like when we study others, what we end up seeing is that like they have what we want or they don't have what we have. And so we have to protect ourselves or or
yes,
attain.
right,
And looking outside of ourselves often kind of puts us in that space of judgment.
for sure. Yep. I love that contrast just in that first line between knowledge and wisdom. Those two things I think can get confused or interchanged when knowledge, just knowing something, doesn't really change anything if you don't apply it to your own life, to your own self. Take action, implement it. Otherwise, it's another thought that makes no difference. But when it's absorbed and applied and becomes part of my own existence, then wisdom is found. And I love that contrast between knowledge and wisdom.
One of the things that pops up, especially because you picked this, is that, we read Anti-Fragile. And
Yes,
in Anti-Fragile, like the world in general collects knowledge and acts on that knowledge. Like I forget the guy's name, but the guy who bet against, like he would bet his money against the popular thing. He would
right,
bet against property or would get bet against the banks because he saw everybody was betting for the banks. And if everybody's betting for the banks, well, they're going to lose. Like eventually it's going to collapse.
right,
And here it is, like that's deep wisdom. That is somebody looking at it and going like, "Huh, rather than taking the knowledge and saying like, look, every piece of property that you can buy is going to profit. Well, this motherfucker, like he says, like, no way, that can't be the case. And because everybody believes that is the case, I am going to utilize my wisdom rather than the knowledge that everybody else is passing on as my guidepost.
yeah, yeah. That whole book, Antifragile, has so many examples of how the knowledge keepers who didn't live and understand how it applies to everyday life really were missing the really good stuff, and how throughout history it's the observers who are really living life and then learning from both their gains and their losses, that wisdom grows from the organic experience way more than the academic experience.
Right. It's not just about knowledge. It's about incorporating that into every aspect of your life that you have lived. How do you know this is true?
Yeah.
And when you can take that with and put it up against everything in your life. And I'm not saying take, like thousands of hours and do this. I mean, it really just takes a bit of awareness. And this is because you are not manifestation. The title of this 33 is you are not manifest. You are not simply here being a body. And because you're not simply here being a body, you're not simply here to collect information. You're here to process that information as you, something that is not simply manifestation.
I love that. And also that reminds me too that just gathering anything, whether it's information or artifacts or awards or achievements or accolades or whatever those are, it just all that does is fill a warehouse. But the joy of all of those things are the experiences themselves. So it's this whole discussion is reminding me I'm not a collector. I'm an experiencer, right?
Yes.
So enjoy life in all those moments, but don't build a warehouse around them and say, look what I did. Just remember them and move on to what's the next wonderful experience and learn from
That's
the
right.
moments of the experience, right?
I'm always telling people, who cares? Who cares? Who cares what you did? Who cares?
Right.
Let's move on. Like, so what?
Yeah.
So like, same with me. Who cares that I'm gonna have 22 years of fucking sobriety? Who cares? Who cares that I'm going to, like, I that every year I live with MS and I don't take meds and it doesn't flare. Who cares? What's next? What are you doing now? Like if I sit on all of those things and pat myself on the back, then I'm patting myself on the back of an identity, and that identity is manifestation.
Yeah.
But I am not manifestation. I'm much more than that. The next line, controlling others takes strength. Now, whether that is controlling others because you're really good at sports, or because you're collecting these awards, or controlling others because you want to have more money or more education or more of these things. But controlling your ego and desires takes power and perseverance.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And what's more important? we that's so again one of these contrasts where I can so easily divert it into what I think is important use of my time, energy, and effort in controlling others, when really the rewarding use of my time, energy, and effort is, like the Tao said, finding the ability to have power over the impulses to be comfortable, make myself happy, to reward myself, pat myself on the back. Those aren't really the experiences of life either. Experiences of life are these interactions with this amazing universe and the people in it. And again, whether it's super extremely awesome or terrible, that's still the life experience. And I can and gain wisdom in all of those.
That's right. And this next line like really leads into that. Knowing that you have enough gives you wealth. And like whatever that is, knowing that you have enough in this moment,
Yeah.
right? Without having to be like, I need more,
Right.
right? Grasping for money and love forces you to conform. I mean, how like what a great way to say that, right? Forcing,
Yes.
like, once you start to grasp, you grasp for something external, and that makes you conform.
Yeah. Man, that's a grander. I
You know,
remember.
and conforming, like, let's look at that book Anti-Fragile. Conforming just puts you in line with everybody else that's conforming.
Right. Yeah.
And it means that you're not you're not actually obtaining any deep wisdom, because deep wisdom is about you.
Yeah.
It's about your experience and how you process this information.
Yeah. Yeah. And that book too, Anti-Fragile, which I love, talks so much about how it's the people who didn't grasp for the stuff that everybody else seemed to want to go with the crowd, the ones that had the quote unquote extended ideas. Those are the ones who paved the way for progress for all of humanity. Those are the ones that came up with a different application of the same natural resources in a way that nobody thought about before because they didn't conform. They didn't grasp for the what everybody else thought was important.
Right, right. And that's what we need to do. Because, when I ask people, well, what do you want in your life? They want money and they want to live by a beach. Yeah, you and everybody else. What do you want? What do you
Right.
want? If all that you want is the same thing everybody else wants, maybe that's not what you want at all. Maybe that's just what you were told to want.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just what's easy to want because everybody wants that. Nobody's going to question you're wanting that because of course you do.
Yeah. So
And this
true.
is where we wrap up. Embrace who you are and stay centered in that. And although you will die, you will not perish.
Mm, wow. Such a great reminder. The word center has come up for me in so many different places too. And it this
Because when
call
you,
to
just like you said, that's what paved the way to advance who they are and stayed centered in that. Not the people who have just been like, I want more money. Yeah, you and everybody, who cares? What are you going to do
who are you
in
going to
your
be?
life?
Yeah. Who are you going to be?
Like, who
Am I
cares
still?
if you have money in that? You're still here. Do I still got you?
I'm not sure. I think my connection's fallen off.
Oh, I don't know. I have not had any problems with your connection. Nope. Okay, we got Tina, then Lois, Empress, and Sonia are on the line. So I do have quite a few people in line. I'm bringing Tina up now. And yes. So just wrapping up 33. Thank you so much. So this is
So this is
go on.
Tina. Yeah.
This is Tina. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Martin. I absolutely love what you're speaking of today. It just I connect so much to the Tao. I think one of the very first things I ever read in the Tao was, and I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not even gonna try and say it word for word. You'll probably know it. But it was the concept of, if you're going to go and play tennis, let's say,
Hmm.
don't don't hope that the best player on the other team has an injury.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Go into it with the thought process of, I hope every single person I play against today is at their absolute best,
So that's
so that
68.
is that what it is? So that
Yeah.
you can learn, have more practice to be your best. Will you read 68? Will you read
Yeah,
that
we'll
one?
we'll we'll we'll, we'll do 68 together. That'll be nice.
Because
So
that
68,
was so profound to me.
yeah. And this is and we're going to use my translation, which is 68. The title is Do What You Love to Do.
Yeah.
Great athletes love to play, not win. Great fighters love to fight, not be angry. Great generals love to strategize, not destroy. Great employers love to employ, not be a boss. Great musicians love to play, not perform. They are not attached to identities or outcomes. They simply dance with what they love to do. This is in harmony with Tao.
Oh, that is so just beautiful. I was just speaking to another person about Dr. Richard Pimentel, who wrote and implemented the Americans with Disabilities Act. And one of my favorite sayings, that quotes that he has, is, leaders do not get people to believe in them. Leaders get people to believe in themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And what greater leader is there than someone who says, no, you can do this too.
Yeah.
You you can do this too. I'm not special. No human is more vital than another. I'm no better than you. Just learned it a little sooner. That's all. And let me
No.
impart that. Let me
Yeah.
just impart that on you. And it's like, and his other another saying that he has is, he breaks down the word responsibility, and he says, if you have the ability what will then be your response?
Mm.
If you have the ability to do good, what will be your response? If you have the ability to do harm, what will then be your response?
Mm.
And it is all about taking ownership of self,
Mm-hmm.
of focusing on dropping judgment of others, because judgment of others, all it is just the mind's desire to not look within. But how much farther can you go? How much more can you be if you do look within? Slay the demons, slay the monsters that you believe are within you, and truly have the desire to be better. When we truly have the desire to be better, we truly have the desire for others to be their best.
Yeah. And I
And
love,
what a
like,
world, you know?
yeah, absolutely. And, to take into account, like, like great athletes love to play, not win. Like, what a great, like in all of these lines, great fighters love to fight, not be angry. Like, so many people that are not great fighters fight, but it's because they're addicted to anger,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so
Right.
many, so many like bad generals look at the world, and it's not that they love to strategize, but they love, once again, to fight or to destroy, right? To destroy
Right.
somebody else, to destroy another person. And it's like a great general will give their enemy a way out because they're
Right.
strategizing and they want to
Because
win.
the point is to obtain the land, not to destroy it.
Right. Not to destroy it, and not to destroy your enemy, because your enemy is human.
Right.
You cannot, the Tao speaks about that as well, this idea that, like, how can you celebrate a victory when violence is what you're fighting with? Like,
Because
how can you do
how
that?
is that a victory when
Right, when you're
you just had
destroying
more
another human
power?
being.
Yeah, and the only reason you won was because you had a bigger gun or a bigger knife or a bigger army. How does that
Right.
make you a better strategizer?
Right. And that's such a beautiful line. A great generals love to strategize, not destroy.
Right.
And if they can strategize a way to never fire a shot and win, they will do it.
My husband did 20 years in the army,
Hmm.
and I
Well,
remember
thank you for him.
when thank you. I remember when he came back from Iraq the first time. He was part of the first invasion,
Mm,
and they were there 3 days, boots on the ground. He was medical,
hmm.
and I remember when they came back, and I had no less than 100 soldiers come to me and say, "If the general would have told us to go this way, and your husband would have told us to go this way, we would have followed your husband every time,
Mm,
because we knew that his goal every single day was to get us home to our families and to do what was right."
yeah,
And that has always sat with me. It's always right there within me of these men who are trained day in and day out to follow authority would have followed the man who would have been going against authority.
yeah,
And not that there was a situation that he did, but I'm just saying that had he have, they
yeah,
would have all followed him because of his heart, because he was strategizing for the greater good, not to destroy, not to conquer, but to do the least amount of damage and get their job done and get everyone home.
yeah.
That says something.
Hmm.
When people are willing to go against all of their training to do what is right because they see something within another human, that's grace.
And that is, that comes down so much to Tao, right? Like, when you are a light, you are seen, right? And when you are a light and you follow Tao, and Tao is within you, that can be experienced by others, because the Tao says that the master doesn't have a self, right? The master releases themselves of their identity so that others can see themselves in her.
Right.
And that happens, and that may have very well have happened with your husband, where he was able to be like, look, this isn't about me.
Right.
This isn't about my ego. This isn't about me winning. This isn't about me destroying. This is about me, and I love being me.
Yeah.
And in being me, I can relinquish myself of my own identity, because I
Yes.
love being me, and being me means I am all things. I am connected to Tao. I am connected to God. I am connected to, and to
Yeah.
strategize from that place is fun.
Yeah. And I was listening to to you and Mojo talk, and I literally was like messaging him back channel, and I was like, um, because you were talking about becoming self,
Yeah.
and becoming you and living in that space. And I was messaging Mojo, and I was like, he's literally describing like the mission of Fab U, which is an event we're doing in December, and it's forgive, allow, become you.
Hmm.
And it's all about breaking the societal bullshit of who we're told we must be from the day we're born, and becoming the person you would respect instead
Yeah.
of the person society tells you you should respect. And it is, it's been vital in my life
Yeah.
of finding a space of forgiving myself for being human and flawed, and accepting the fact that this isn't an open book test. I had to go through those learning experiences, and sometimes I had to go through them 20 times before I went, "Oh, I was supposed to turn right, not left.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it now. Okay. All right. All right, let's go on to the next one."
Yeah.
And then after we get to that space of forgiveness, allowing, just allowing uh what is next, and allowing ourselves to be ourselves, and then implementing that by becoming it. Not just, a lot of times people go to retreats or whatever, and they have these big huge breakthroughs, and then they go home and they don't know how to implement them in their life, and they kind of just slowly go back to where they were before they had that knowledge. And yeah, are some people going to fall away that maybe aren't on that same vibration? Yeah. But you know what I have found out, Martin, over the last 4 years? The ones that fell away, in hindsight, it was in my best interest. And not only that, it made room for the people who are in my life now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when we are who we are, when we allow that light and love that is within us to encompass us and become who we choose to be, all of a sudden the rest of it just doesn't really seem like the neighbor's dog pooping in your yard really doesn't mean much anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's so unimportant in the scheme of things, you know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm just grateful, and I'm really grateful for your words. And I know you have more people in the queue, so thank you so much for bringing me on. And I followed you, and I would look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming up as well. This one, like, if you do have 2 more minutes, this one
Yes,
does
absolutely.
wrap up. Yeah, this one does wrap up with a couple lines that I think we should go over really quick
Oh,
before we
please.
step away. So, after we kind of understand that the great athlete loves to play and not win, and the general loves to strategize, not destroy, and the great employers love to employ, not be a boss. Well, what we see now in these last lines are they are not attached to identities or outcomes. And this
Right,
is the big difference, or this is the big difference between like people who want to destroy and people like your husband who want to strategize. Like people who want to destroy want an identity or want an outcome. Like they are attached to their identity. Like employers who love being a boss are attached to that identity. And like as you were talking earlier, we're born under the influence of our parents, and then we live under the influence of the education system, and we live under the influence of the economic system, and we live under the influence of the fame system that we have here in the States, and all of these other things. And we get attached to those identities. And well, we start to identify great athletes as not necessarily the ones are who love to play, but the ones who love to win, because that's how we might
Right.
identify something, because we are being expected to win, or we are being expected to do something in a certain way.
We were
They
taught that that
simply
is where value comes from,
right.
is money and success. And, people come to me all the time in my profession, and they say, I want to be successful. And the very first thing I ask them is, what is success to you? And of course, what I normally hear is, well, money, or that people know me, know my name, or know my brand, or, and I said, well, to me, that's not success. That's notoriety. Success is when I lay my head down on my pillow every night, do I know that I have done everything in my power that day to be the best version of myself, to encourage others to be the best of themselves.
Yeah.
Um, I I rarely have any kind of huge surplus of money, but I am so successful because I have a beautiful life. My husband of 28 years, two beautiful daughters. We always have a roof over our head and food in our tummies, and I'm happy. That's
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
And
lose you, but thank you so
yeah,
much for having me on.
absolutely. Yes, thank you. And this one just wraps up with, they simply dance with what they love to do. This is in harmony with Tao. So I'm going to bring Lois up. And thank you, Tina. I appreciate you sharing 68 with me. Lois? Oh, guest has left. Let's see if. All right. So, Lois, you weren't on my queue. If you are listening, come back up. I'm going to give you like 5, 10 seconds before I bring Empress on, just in case you are listening. I know that happened with you one time before, where you were listening and it wasn't in the queue and stuff and whatnot. There you are. I gotcha. So I'm gonna try and now my app is getting a little funky, but I got you joining now. So
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. I
Lois.
had to go out and come back in. I'm like, how did you not get me? I just was putting some little emojis up or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
Can you
I
hear me?
didn't want that to happen again.
We have a delay or something. I can't hear you at all. Can you hear me? Okay, can anybody in the room?
Okay.
Okay, okay, you're going
Why don't
in
you
and out.
go out and come back in?
Okay, I can hear you now. All right.
Okay.
I'm
Are you
doing
good now?
good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I had to get the right reception. I'm on the back porch.
Okay. So you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. So how was the service?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Got a lot of good feedback. I did my best, so it was gonna be good anyway. But you know what I mean? It's like no matter what I did, I was doing my best. So, but it was really, really good. It was beautiful. It was more. I did more than they expected. You know me. I'm a little extra.
That's how you do.
That's all I do. That's me. I do my best, whatever I do, so
That's right.
so it was really nice, and they really appreciated. I didn't heard from them every day since the wedding, you know. So I think that's really cute, you know, that they've texted me or called me and said thank you again and thank you again. And then
Oh,
I had several people ask me about officiating. So I mean,
oh,
you know,
good.
at least one that was serious. The other one asked me about how many times have I done that, da, 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 and it was like he was like a pro, and I'm thinking, oh no, I did a little.
little fake ceremony with some of my friends who wanted to have a commitment because gay marriage was not legal, and they knew I was a minister.
Yeah.
I had been a minister, but I had never married nobody, so that wasn't even real. But this is my first real one. And I got to the place where when I was reflecting the next day and somebody said, we're about a moment of reflection, I reflected that everything that I ever written for and had to speak at a large family gathering, because it was a big, yeah, that was the biggest group I ever had, a family, 150, you know,
Wow.
but usually it's like 40 or 50, and every time I've spoke, it's always been at a funeral. We're talking mama, daddy, grandma, auntie,
Mm-hmm.
brothers, cousins. It's always been at a funeral, and this is the first time I got to do something where I was speaking in front of family, and it was totally, totally positive, and that brought me a
Yeah,
great joy.
that's
So that
great.
that was a paradigm shift. Okay, that was a real paradigm shift. Speaking at funerals and then speaking, I mean, speaking, marrying people. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a big
so
shift. I'm glad you got to experience that. So, so yeah, let's find a number.
64 is sitting right in front of me. So I'm like, okay, 64.
So 64 is titled "It's So Easy." It is easy to stop something before it gets into motion. It is easy to plan something before beginning it. It is easy to break something before it has grown strong. It is easy to hide something before it has grown big. Preventing problems has never been the problem. Tiny sprouts do this and grow unimaginable heights, and every journey has started with a first easy step. Avoiding the easy is what has created all difficult problems. Rushing past the easy things will end up costing you. Grasping into the destination, Grasping onto the destination, you lose sight of where you are. Forcing things to be what you want when you want will only turn those things against you. Therefore, the master monitors her desire for an outcome. She remains as calm at the beginning as at the end, so she can see what is in front of her. She embraces the mundane and doesn't prize rarities. She does this. Doing this, the master reminds those around her of who they have always been, and they are inspired. Caring about nothing but Tao, she cares for all things. That's a lot.
Yes, well, it's all real though. It's all
Yeah.
real. You know how I live my life. I ain't met you yet, but
Hmm.
I mean, because we vibrate.
Yes.
So you know how I live my life, and people who've met me know how I live my life. So that to me, that was just giving me confirmation that I'm still headed in the right direction, because I don't covet things. I when something comes up, I don't. I'm sorry. It's like I squash it right away, but not like a bug, because I don't to kill bugs. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah, neither
whole
do I.
thing is, if I see a fire starting to light up, rather than let it become an inferno and say, "Oh my God, I don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see that." Okay, it's right in my face. I address it,
That's right.
or
That's
and I
where
and like, okay, go ahead.
this line that this is what just keeps popping out at me. Avoiding the easy is what
Hmm.
creates all difficult problems. Right?
Amen.
When
And
you
yeah, and you become, because you're resistant. When you
Yeah.
don't deal with what's in front of you, you're resisting what is in front of you, and what you resist will persist until you deal with that shit. And if it's some shitty shit, okay,
Hmm.
you're gonna be in some shitty shit for a long ass time until you face
Yeah.
it. And the longer you wait, the bigger it becomes. Again, I can use that coat analogy. I didn't respond right when the first little sweater
Oh,
thing was stolen, and then I didn't respond right again when the next one, and I didn't clear it up or anything like that. But the last one, when it was an expensive coat,
mm-hmm.
I learned how to react. Hey, let it go. I love you. Thank you. Serve somebody else. May their karma not be too hard on them when it comes back for taking my stuff. But the whole thing is, if I had responded, put a stop on that, and saw it through the eyes of love in the first place, that maybe somebody just needed was cold and needed a coat, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean, I needed the thing.
Absolutely.
I would have probably wouldn't have had to have lost one that cost so much money. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm serious. This is, this is within the last what 7 years. I had to
Yeah.
go through this experience. Once 7 years ago, and then 5 years ago, and then this past what was that?
It was a couple
February or
months
March?
ago.
Yeah, a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But if I had responded correctly the first time and dealt with my feelings about it the first time, and that mirror reflection the first time, and if I said, how am I stealing from myself, if I
Yes.
reflected back at
Gone.
that, how am I stealing from myself, how am I disrespecting myself, how am I'm giving away something that belongs to somebody else. I would have seen that was me that took
Mm-hmm.
that code,
That's
that
right.
took it,
Every
and then I
time.
would have been able to have compassion for that other person and say, oh, you know what, they like I did for the girl who gave away my jacket. She accidentally gave it away, but God bless her.
Yep.
But she was in such turmoil, I could not let her be like that. Because she figured she's gonna get fired because it was a designer, and she saw how nice it was, and she was in tears, and I'm like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
I'm and for me, I was having compassion for her, but then I was also saying, I'm gonna respond right this time, okay?
Yes.
I'm gonna respond right this time. So the thing is that we have to repeat those things that we get into the suffering and the ring of suffer, okay? When we don't deal with stuff as it comes up, my mother used to say, if somebody step on your foot, say ouch.
Yeah.
That don't mean that you got to go off. That don't mean that whatever. Just
Yep.
acknowledge it, and sit with it, and see what it's there for, and then let it go, and it goes right back into the ethers from which it came. But when you don't let it go and you resist it and you say, oh, whatever, whatever, and get an attitude about it, you got to repeat that shit. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the school of thought. Shit is fertilizer. Use it. But if you ain't got to repeat it, don't.
That's right.
you know. So
You know,
go
this is
ahead.
a good one. I love the way this one starts. Like these four things that are easy, right? It's easy to stop something before it's set into motion. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. But things are set into motion when we're so young, right?
Yeah.
So like they get set into motion, and like once it's set into motion, we have to start dealing with it. But it is easy to stop something before it's set into motion. And
And when you say
maybe
that,
you can
okay.
go on.
No, when you say that, it reminds me that when I that we have a space between our thoughts. We have a high. I'm gonna say a high road and a low road. High
Yep.
vibration activity, or a low vibration. With that space between our thoughts, I mean, we got thousands, over 8,000, 6,000, 8,000 thoughts a day. Okay,
Yeah.
we have to put a space between the next thought, and you get to choose whether you're going to pick a high vibe thought or a low vibe thought. We always have that choice, but if we don't take that pause for the cause, okay, we're just reacting, and we don't get that response like Tina was talking about. Because I
Right.
talk about the responsibility, the ability to respond. Okay, that's a different than a reaction. But when we don't deal with the stuff when it pops up, okay, we end up having a reactivity to it when comes back up again, and then another reaction, another, because it's like a trigger. And until we dismantle that trigger, we're gonna have to deal with that gun pointing at our ass, huh? Telling us to wipe that shit up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
but
No,
that's
no, no.
that's the
You know me.
reality.
That's
But
all
that's
right.
but that's just the reality of it. But yeah, I really like this one because the thing is, I feel that it's important, and because I do with that, what I feel is important is following that first thing that when it comes up. Hey, deal with this. It came up.
That's right.
Deal with it. Don't
That's
push
right.
it back down. Don't push it back down and repress it, because you repress it, you're gonna regress, and then you're gonna get depressed. Okay, and that's just how easy it is to fall down that
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
Yeah. And that leads us into that preventing problems has never been the problem. Because you can't prevent problems, right? Like tiny sprouts
No,
do this
no.
and grow into unimaginable heights. And every journey
Hmm.
has started with the first easy step. That first easy step is going to lead into the next one, which may lead you to sprain your ankle. That might be a problem that you will
Hmm.
overcome with the first easy step of overcoming it.
There it is, right there. Bingo.
You know,
Oh, I love
and then
this.
it leads into all of this that you were talking about. Avoiding the easy is what has created all the difficult problems. If you just
Hmm.
turn your back and avoid that shit, it's going to, you know, rushing past the easy thing will end up costing you. Grasping
Yes.
onto the destination, you will lose sight of where you are. Forcing
Hmm.
things to be what you want when you want will only turn those things against you.
Yeah, and when you push it away, it's kind of like you're building a fence. You know, they say, "Oh, he offended me, she offended me. That was offensive." No, you actually build a fence. Okay? And then when somebody hits your fence that you're building, then you build a wall. And when you build a wall, you're blocking out the good as well as the bad. And then you're locking yourself up with them regress thoughts about that thing.
Right.
So it's like we can't keep doing that to ourselves. I know I did it myself millions of times. Okay, when I did a psychiatric, when I was in my going doing my therapy, when I was in my program, my master's program, we all had to get at least 40 hours of individual therapy. So and I was doing my thing, and there was this thing where I had to make a scene. And out of a bunch of toys and stuff like that. Now I hadn't got far enough into my program to understand what she had me doing, but when I found out, I had to laugh because you get to pick any characters. There were army men, there were fences, there was sand. It was in a big old sandbox. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
called a sandbox. Okay, and you build a little whatever, and you build whatever comes to your imagination. I built an island with the moat and a fence around it and walls,
Wow.
and behind the walls were me and my three kids. Okay, and she said, and land, the land was way off in the distance.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is how I'm seeing the world. That I've walled myself
Mm-hmm.
off from every mother, everything,
Yeah. I
everything.
got
Okay.
you.
And the thing is, that's gave me so much insight into me. That's why I was a good therapist, because I had a good therapist, man. She was good.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't let me take over. I loved her.
That's
So,
great. You know,
but yeah, but
this one
go ahead.
continues with what you were just saying about
Hmm.
the you know you and your family on an island. Therefore, the
Yeah.
master monitors her desire for an outcome. If you were
Hmm.
to have created that and thought about, well, what does this mean before you created it, you wouldn't have
Hmm.
ever been able to see yourself.
No, no,
You would have
not at
you would
all.
you would have not you would have been checking for, you know, you would have been like, what does this look like, what does other people think, dot dot dot,
Hmm.
and you would have hid,
Yes.
and you would have avoided the easy thing, which is just recognize your shit.
Just play. It was just play. That's all I was asked to do was play.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Love you so much. I know Empress was up here. I don't know if she's still here, and if you are, please come up. Allison is coming up, so Empress probably stepped out. Allison, I have to tell you, I was listening to um, Allison. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was listening to so I'm collecting some things, and I wrote my version of the Tao, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I grabbed you and I talking about the number one, the first chapter of the Tao together. It was
Mm.
such a nice fun, and I pulled it and I edited it down, and I'm putting it aside to use later.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bunch of things with the DAO. I'm gonna create an app, and I'm doing an Oracle deck and some other stuff. So it's
That
fun.
is that. Oh my
Did I lose you?
gosh.
Oh,
Nope, I just
yeah.
transferred to
So
my
big
headphones.
stuff.
That's super
Oh, okay.
inspiring and fun.
Yeah. So we shall see how it all. It's gonna all just unfold over the next couple months. Like, because I wrote this, and then that is just kind of turning into more stuff that I'm inspired to do with it.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's find a number.
52.
52. 52. 52. I titled this Like Tao, So Too You. All things issue from Tao. It is their mother. then in their own time they return to Tao. Like Tao, so too you act on the world of manifestation. When you recognize you are the mother of your experience, you can identify the children your actions birth. Loving them as your children, you free yourself of sorrow. Choose not to recognize your motherhood, a victim, filled with desire and judgment. There will be no end to your turmoil. Look into the darkness and learn how to yield. Not allowing your senses to guide you, you will find peace in every crevice.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's give it a roll.
Yeah. First thoughts.
My first thoughts are, yes. That's my first thought. Keep it simple. Yep.
Keep it simple. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's just break it down little by little.
Okay. So the first line is all things issue from Tao. It is their mother. Then, in their own time, they return to Tao.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it means, from the non-physical consciousness is birth to physical consciousness, and it appears to be separate. But I mean, the return is imminent and the return is constant. It's
Yeah,
not, there is no separation, but it appears as if there is a return, which is a time-based spatial concept. I have gone, I shall return, which
that's
really doesn't exist. So,
yes, and so that's actually a fairly simple sort of thing. If you're familiar with this sort of work, it's very simple. It's like it's non-dual. It's like you're born, you go out in the world, do your thing, and come back. Now
mhm.
it goes on to like Tao, so too you act in the world of manifestation. When you recognize you are the mother of your experience, you can identify the children your actions birth.
Yeah, so what's interesting is when you are in a space of connectivity and when you are in a space of um, living in the vibration of the truth of the understanding of what it means to birth your own experience, you're like, yeah, great, no big deal. And when you're in the energy of disconnection, you're like, this is a big deal.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
um, so it's really interesting to be so connected to the knowledge and the intellectual understanding, but to also be living this experience of what we perceive to be separation. Because we're never, I mean, when we have the physical perspective, I mean, those things that we experience as painful, they're real to us.
Yes.
So it's challenging.
But
There
can
is
we?
no
But and I think this is where the second this kind of final line that I've read is like. But can you identify that those painful things are the children that your actions have birthed, and your actions being like how you think or how you are, or the things
Mhm.
that happened, to you when you were a child that are now still in the system because time isn't a thing.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm going through that right now. There are so many what I consider to be big changes. Like
Yeah.
big changes of what are perceived to be, but the kids are I got two kids in college now. I just finished up two big projects and it's
Mhm.
like, all right, so I'm having a relationship with manifestation.
Yes.
When manifestation holds you up and then you perceive it not to be there anymore, you're like, wait, what? There's a
Right.
little bit of a wobble, and you're like, all right, I'm creating not only my perception, but it's interesting. I'm looking at like the tableau of where this sense of disconnection, great disconnection, has been presented to me in my life. And I mean, I'm gauging it against the severity of what I perceive to be disconnection. And there are periods of my life where, when I left home, when I had a miscarriage, like this to me, the transition I'm in right now feels like this manifestation of disconnection. I'm a little bit wobbly. I'm like, okay, wait. You're
Yeah.
sitting in the shit, but but you're sitting in the shit that you created.
Yes. Oh, so beautiful. and so well put. And this last line of this section is, loving them as your children, you free yourself of sorrow.
Yes. And I will get there.
Yes, of course.
But I'm
But
not there today in
no,
this moment. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I manifest? And I was like, okay,
you don't.
I'm going to click
Yeah,
on, well, I was like, I need to do something to remember, to remind myself of the connection. I happened to click
yeah,
on this and you were on. I was like, okay, this could be a good conversation. This could be a remembrance that
yes,
I could manifest and create to shift back to a sense of connection.
yeah. So as this continues, we have an interesting thing that I want to hear your thoughts on, which says, choose not to recognize your motherhood a victim filled with desire and judgment. There will be no end to your turmoil.
Yeah. I mean, yes, you can create the path of suffering for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you will be rewarded in the physical realm because people reward you and applaud you for your suffering.
Yeah.
Those who suffer most get the biggest trophies. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's yes,
Yeah.
it's seemingly endless, but endless is a spatial time concept. So it is seemingly endless, but there is it can end in any second.
But that's, like that's in contrast with when you recognize you are the mother of your experience versus choose to not recognize your motherhood, then you become a
Yeah,
victim.
right. I mean, but that's I think what we're stepping into from a collective consciousness is the creative power that we
Ex-
actually have and the lack of, I mean, moving from victim, and I see it so much in so many different modalities, from everything from the way people are, continuing to market or shifting their marketing to the way that they're verbalizing different concepts to TV shows to this concept of, which path are you going to choose? Because we each get to choose our own. We can choose one where we continue to play out the narrative of things being inserted, or we can play out the narrative of um, connection.
Yeah. This wraps up with, look into darkness and learn how to yield, not allowing your senses to guide you. You will find peace in every crevice.
So I just watched. It was like 13. It was about the soccer team in Indonesia. They got trapped in the cave. It's like
Mm-hmm.
13 lives, and
Okay.
I thought about this concept because they were literally trapped in darkness in a cave
Yeah.
4 weeks on end.
Yeah.
And that concept came up for me as being an analogous to trapped in darkness. It's sitting in your home with the daylight streaming in. It's like this trapped in
Mm-hmm.
darkness concept.
Yeah.
And we're all at some point we're all looking into it. Consider the darkness unknown, right? I'm doing that right now, even though I'm sitting in my house, ironing some shirts, just had some breakfast. I'm still quote unquote looking into the darkness.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. There's just stillness there. When I was in that dark retreat, like, there's nothing you can do. You just, I mean, you could meditate and you can move, but it's all stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like when you iron shirts and when you make your bed, I know, like, for me, making my bed sometimes is a really great way of grounding. Like
Mm-hmm.
just make my bed, just sit here and do this task and be in this task and allow my mind to go wherever it goes, because this is just a physical thing I've done before and I can do. It's just a great way of grounding,
Mm-hmm.
being
Yeah, I
still.
think. Yeah, I'm definitely moving into what can be scary are the simplicity of the the more mundane tasks. But in those tasks, you actually find yourself.
Yeah.
You're confronted with your idea of your own self-worth
Right.
because it's simple. There's nothing to carry you away. There's no social media. There's no hyper conversation and argument. There's just you.
Right. And that is the darkness, right? Like that is you, like, not just the manifestation, but you as the non-dual being, right? You as the
Mm-hmm.
whole, you connected to Tao. All things, and then we go back to this beginning, all things issue from Tao. It is their mother, then in their own time return to Tao, We have to remember that. You do something in your life when you're 5 years old, it may not return to you until you're 26 or 50.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
in
or
its
at
own
least the
time, it will return.
right. Yeah, I find that the feeling returns. It's like it's sort of the situational experiences are an outgrowth of the feeling.
Right.
The vibration is resonant, and what it depicts in the time is dependent upon the perspective you have as a youth, as a middle age, as an older, as a married, not
Right.
married, as male, female,
Yeah, and
whatever.
you've gone through a lot, but those lessons will return, you know, and then like still not allowing your senses to guide you because you are being guided, right? Like, and just not allowing your senses, meaning your the manifestation, to guide you and to tell
Mm-hmm.
you what is and what isn't, you know. You will find peace in every crevice because that's what is you. Like, you are peace,
Mm-hmm.
and every crevice is you.
Right. And we do not realize until it's not there anymore what is
That's right.
propping us up, these relationships, these with other people, these situations. And when we feel fine, we don't realize the condition in which we are dependent upon until the condition disappears. And then you're a little stumbling and going, wait, what?
Right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize I was dependent on the condition. And now there's silence and there's just me.
Right.
Just me. What do I think of me?
You know, it's interesting, you know, like you mentioned, like it's like you can't know, you know, you can't know what's propping you up until it's no longer there. And today I put a quote out on Instagram, which is, you can never know if you're thinking clearly, but if you know that you weren't thinking clearly yesterday, then you're on the right track. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
this idea that, like, oh, I am moving forward, right? Even though it doesn't necessarily feel that way, because
Mm-hmm.
I can just be like, am I thinking a little clearer? Because, you know, like, we can't know the things that are holding us up right now because we're being held up,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, we'll all know. I know now that, my middle one's gone. That was a very, it's a complicated relationship and but it's now I know. My definition of mom has been deeply, deeply ingrained based on my children being in my presence. And now that they're not, I'm like, wait, what?
What? Who am I?
What?
Like, I had no idea. I held on to this identity for
Yeah.
so strongly.
And it created so much joy for me. And the apparent absence of it creates what I perceive as so much pain, which
Yeah.
is all my perception.
Right, absolutely. And it's because you allowed your senses to that manifestation of you being a parent to guide you for so long, and now that's gone. But you're
Hmm.
still here. Nothing has changed. And
Yeah,
yet that's a difficult place to be.
yep.
You know, that's more postpartum, right? Like, it's like, you know, like you give birth, and it was like there was this anticipation all this time, and then you give birth, and then there's that depression, and then you let them go to college, and there's that depression again, right? There's that same
Oh yeah.
sort of like loss of a project.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely the road. I am.
Oh, if you wanted to end that, you can come up. You just got cut off. If not, I understand. You are always welcome on my stage. Thank you so much, Allison. You're so beautiful, and I'm so glad to share these with you. Thank you, everybody. There is nobody in line. I did see somebody was. If they wanted to come back up, please do. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off. If you benefit from the work I do, if you enjoy Tao of the Day, there will be a book, and there's going to be an app and other things. So all of that stuff. Oh, Empress is back. Oh, good. Um, Empress,
Morning.
how are you? You
I'm
keep
good. I keep
dropping.
dropping off. I don't know why.
I don't know why. I want to. I'm glad you're back. Thank you so much. I don't know. Like, it's always great. And like, I know. What are your plans for moving to Chicago? When are you getting up here?
Next year, hopefully June, July. I gotta text you too because I changed my phone number yesterday.
Okay.
I got a 312 number, so
Oh, go on. You got.
I got the digits, so I am
Yeah,
putting things into
it'd be,
motion
that's good.
and
That's good.
preparing
I'm
for, you know.
I just over the last month, I just a friend of mine is going to sell me his house in Hammond, Indiana.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna be in the area for a minute now. Like I'm
You
settling in.
know, I'm kind of considering Indiana. I am looking at the elections up there with these new laws that are coming into effect in January, and I see that you all have some battles going on with the Republicans and the Democrats.
Well, Northwest Indiana is a different, like it's not
Oh
like in,
yeah,
Northwest
yeah,
Indiana,
I know it.
but it's a liberal enclave. But yes, Indiana is Indiana, and it is still the land of Mike Pence.
But I'm gonna tell you something. It's the land of Mike Pence, but it also is the only state in the union that has a balanced budget. Did you know that?
I didn't,
Yeah, they're the
but
only state in the union that has a balanced budget.
well, that's good to know. That's
So
good to know.
Pence did some good stuff when he was the
Yeah,
president.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm yeah, like I've had friends living in that area for a long, long time, and although I haven't, like I am very local. I'm a local voter. I vote locally, and I vote.
Uh huh.
Like I've never, ventured into the politics of Indiana, but now that I'll be living
Yeah.
there, I will definitely start to focus
Yeah.
on, the judges and the things that are important
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about the new laws. I'll give you a call because
Yeah, I'd love to
you've
talk
heard
to.
about it because it's going to be the wild wild west if it doesn't change. But anyway,
Yeah, we'll move on.
I
You and I'll talk
I
about that.
because we could go.
Yeah.
But anyway, couple of things. Number one, I am doing some deep study right now about the way of life as a Stoic,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and I am a Stoic because my grandfather was Gullah, who came from Sierra Leone, East Africa, and
Huh.
Gullahs are very Stoic people.
Okay.
And so I knew it, but I did not know it. And I am really delving deep into the deeper understanding of the culture of Stoics, and that it is highly based on the way of life through values.
Hmm.
So
I'm a
that
stoic. I mean, it could be
you're
said that
Stoic,
I'm a
yeah,
stoic. Like I wouldn't plant my flag in stoicism, but a lot of what makes my thoughts come to me through a sort of stoic background. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. It's the way of life, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Then and
This,
Tao is,
mhm.
Stoic and Tao are very kind of similar. There are similarities.
Yes, yes.
Stoicism definitely comes from, a Mediterranean European sort
Mhm,
of concepts, and
mhm.
Tao is Chinese, and so
Right.
like they're different. But yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Stoicism is a beautiful
So the part,
sort of.
yeah, I'm not like really practicing stoicism, but
Yeah,
really
yeah.
get the understanding of, there's so much in ancient teaching that has been lost. And I've
Hmm.
always been one who prefer reading from the historian, the ancient philosophers, versus the new age, because they are the ones that really founded a lot of things. And so one of the things that I was reading the other day was talking about, not only how we choose and select our value systems, but also that, we can only control that which is within our own environment, and everything outside of that we cause suffering for ourselves.
Yeah.
Now that was a pretty deep statement. I'm like, ooh, I had to really think about that. And I said, yeah, because okay, so when you're trying to fix, manage, and control somebody else, then here comes the chaos. Why? Because they're resisting, which they have the right to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that is, at the core of so much of what Tao talks about. Like when I talk about the Tao as the canon of reason, the reason part of that is how to live your life without asking other people to change.
Yes, yes.
That's what a reasonable life is. That's how I
Yeah,
define a reasonable life. Is like you live your life
right.
knowing that someone else has the right to live theirs.
Right. But knowing how to live your life is also equally important.
Yeah.
Knowing how to live your life. And that's when the value system comes in. So I just really kind of, like that platform because I have always been one to kind of lean towards teaching about values and understanding values in so many areas of our life. They are held, but we don't. A lot of things have been lost. So I like bringing back
Yeah.
the
And
whole.
like Stoicism came about, around 300 BCE. Like that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
beginning
Yeah.
of Stoicism. And the Tao was written presumably at 600 BCE. So it was around and spreading,
Uh
and
huh.
and a lot of these sorts, and the Old Testament was written, scholars say, at around 600 BCE as well. So a lot of these ancient texts really did, just get remodeled in different ways,
Right.
and we have lost those really
Translate.
ventured into as we
Mm-hmm.
ventured into a more logic sort of knowledge rather than wisdom, because
Right.
you hold wisdom as an individual. Knowledge is something that can be held by the
Right.
masses.
Right.
So let's
Right.
go ahead and look at a number.
So,
Let's see
do you
what.
have the number 70? I don't know if you go up to 70 or
Oh
not.
yeah, I got 70.
Okay, great. So let's go with 70.
So the title of 70 is called These Teachings. These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. What were we just talking about?
I'm still been laughing to myself.
Yep. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested. Yet, in their heart shines a light for all things.
This is too mystic.
Yep.
This is mystic.
Yes. Yeah. Like that's why I love this, right? This is why I wrote this translation, and I'm making it into an oracle deck, because it's like, pick a card. That's yours. That's your number. That's what's calling to you. And what is this that we're talking about today? It's about being you. And
Mm,
what like but few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah. And what I'm hearing is that few people will, you know, will ever get to learn what some of the deeper values are that we must learn in our lives. But yet, through our experiment, and I believe that you must have an experiment before you can have an experience,
Mm-hmm.
because the experience is the outcome of the experiment. The experiment is what you're testing. It's what you are trying to figure out if this resonates with me. Does this work? Am I going to fall on my face? How will I get up? And out of that, I now have this experience that I can learn from. I can share with others. Hey, I've done this before, you know. And so that is where we identify if what we have learned through the practices of those values work for us,
Yeah.
resonate for us. We have to have the experimentation to find out what works for me. You know, when you talked about the knowledge and the wisdom, I'm the filter in which I pour knowledge into me, and how that knowledge then comes out and through me. is what or how I express who I am.
Yeah.
Because I know who I am, but how do I express myself outwardly to
Yeah.
others in knowing who I am? So that's where the wisdom comes in because I can learn, but then I have to, like, as you spoke earlier, filter that information inside of me and to see what is it that I resonate with so that I am clear about how I express what I reflect.
Hmm. That's, and that leads us into this next line, which is the second line. That's these teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. And that's the thing. Like, can you not prefer? Can you not lean towards that which you simply see, but lean towards that which you know, that which you
Right,
are?
right. That linear logic versus that inner knowingness.
Yeah, that wisdom, that all of our experience, like
Hmm.
you grew up in, you came up in Chicago, a black woman, I came up in Chicago, a white male, right? Like these are different experiences, and everything that comes in helps me understand me. And everything that comes in for you helps you understand you. And
Absolutely
we don't have the same experience.
right. I am writing a book that I started. I'm well revising, updating it, of completing it. Let me put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
I started writing this book back in 2011 and I did not finish it. And it's called The Lily Pad Effect. And I'm talking about my whole healing and transformation process that took place on Lake Michigan
Mm.
and all of the symbolizations of Mother Nature and what it means to us metaphysically in our understanding of what water means, what
Mhm.
Mother Earth means, what, from a metaphysical perspective to help you understand that it's not about the water. Water has two purposes in life. It can bring us vital energy or it can also be a cleanser in our life. And
Yeah.
how all of that played a role in the transformation process of my life many years ago. So it is something that I did not finish because it wasn't ready. I now
Right.
have all of the knowledge and the experimentations and the experiment and experiences and the wisdom to now finish the book. So I'm really excited about it.
That's
Um,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, Lake Michigan was my space. That was my space where I did all of my work
That's beautiful.
and
Lake
left the
Michigan.
pain.
Yeah, Lake Michigan. I always look out at the lake and I'm like, no matter what you do here, the lake is flat. It's like you look out at the horizon, it's like no matter how much interference we do in the city to build and build and build and build and pollute and all that, you look out at the water and that's space. That's you.
That's a powerful space. And look at
Yeah.
how many people go there every morning,
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
Just,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a healing energy. It really is. And although it is one of the Great Lakes, it looks like an ocean.
Yeah.
It's so huge. It looks like an ocean. We know what the ocean look like. We can definitely measure the difference because ocean energy is much, much heavier energy.
Yeah.
But Lake Michigan also is heavy energy because it is so massive. It's just vast.
Yeah.
And so it is able to give you that cleansing energy you need to go deep in.
Oh, you dropped off. The cleansing energy you need to go deep. Come on back and we will finish that up. Yeah, the cleansing, yeah, it does give you that energy that you can go deep. You can sit in front of it for hours.
Yeah, I remember one time I was my sister who recently passed and a cousin. We were all living in different places, and we met up in St. Augustine, Florida. We decided to do a spiritual retreat, and so we had gone to the ocean, to the Atlantic Ocean, and we were sitting there. So at that time, I was practicing Buddhism, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And so I told them, I said, well, hey, we're going to chant. I mean, the water was like recessed way back. And where we were sitting was nothing but sand. And so we were chanting and just getting in. And it was about building rhythm because, you have to build rhythm in your body. And there's a lot of different types of chants. But to build rhythm in your body so that all things can elevate, can connect, can pump, with
Yeah.
rhythm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So we were chanting, and by the time after probably maybe about 45 minutes to an hour, we were chanting, and the water was literally up to our necks.
Mm.
Now there was no water where we were sitting.
Yeah.
That
That's
rhythm
it.
drew that water to us, and it was up to our necks. My sister, who was short, we had to get her out because she was short. It was like, but it it just shows you that when you connect with nature, when you are walking on the ground, when you are hugging a tree, when you feel that energy, Mother Nature has so much within it that we
Mm.
need to transmit and exchange as a part of the healing. Because a part of our healing is just not thought and words. We have to connect to the vital energy of the earth because that's where the energy is coming from because we're in it. We have to connect, we have to exchange. We need hugs. We're exchanging energy when we hug one another.
Hmm. I love a good hug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and we kind of lost that because of COVID, but we're kind of easing back into it now. But
Hmm.
that's important. Chicagoans are huggers. We hug.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying the whole world don't. I'm just saying that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Chicagoans are huggers.
I love a hug.
So we have to learn how to integrate and use what the earth has to help us cleanse. We got to remove before we can go to that level of elevation. You got to clean out, you got to declutter the vessel, which is the mind, the heart, and all of the conditionings that we have attached ourselves to in the world.
I'm intrigued by this because this next line states, like I'm going to read the line before it just so we understand what we're talking about. Very few people will ever truly understand what's written herein, but for those few, these pages will help them guide. These pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, those people that are being guided to themselves will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested. And I can't help but think about so many nature programs which are fighting to get the interest of young people in nature. Because when you watch, you know, America, when you watch these, what is it, like Planet Earth, when you watch these programs about nature, there's one interesting thing after another, and you lose sight of the fact that those interesting things were the 6 minutes that happened in that area over 6 months. And when I see that, when like in being a stoic or in following Tao, you can really kind of sometimes seem very coarse and uncaring, even though you do care and you care deeply. It could appear sometimes as being uncaring, and it can appear sometimes as being dull. But nature is teeming with energy. And if
Yes.
you can if you can if you can tap into that energy, then it's not dull, it's not uncaring, it's not coarse, but you have to do that within yourself in order to experience that within others.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, when I was you remember before they remodeled the lakefront, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, even the lakefront got a facelift. Now I got to get myself together, right?
Yeah.
But I remember when the rocks were on the lake.
Mm.
And I would every Sunday morning. I went to the lake 7 days a week, 7 days, 6 o'clock a.m. because I wanted to watch the sunrise. Because for
Yeah.
me, that was so spiritual
I
to
love doing
see
that shit.
light
Yeah.
come out of darkness. It was
Mm-hmm.
just the way the sun rose over that water. But I used to lay on the rocks and I would go to sleep. I would sleep for an hour.
Mm-hmm. You know,
I
I
would,
even forgot. Like, I even forgot. Like, I recognize now that those rocks are gone.
they're gone.
Like,
But let
I
me
didn't even
tell you,
recognize that they were gone until now because I'm like, I've been up and down that lakefront for fucking 10 years. I ain't seen those. Where are they? I'm like, I was like, once you said that, you remember we were on the rocks. I was like, yeah, the rocks are still there. I was like, wait, no, they're not.
you're right. And
Fuck all.
I love the new version, but this is what I miss
Oh yeah.
about the old version. The rocks was piled up against, to prevent the water from coming up into the park and all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But that water gave the rocks healing energy.
Mm-hmm.
Those rocks were full of energy.
Yeah.
And I would go sleep on the rocks. And sometimes I might have an ache or pain, or I might have a heaviness in my heart or confusion in my mind. I would go lay on those rocks, go to sleep. When I come up off those rocks, I am so razor sharp clairvoyant, or
Mm.
my body has been healed.
Yeah.
Healed. Because you have two things coming from the earth. You have the water hitting those rocks, giving it energy, and you got
Mm-hmm.
the sun giving
Mm-hmm.
those rocks energy.
And that morning sun coming up like from the east, like, and like, and that's just like this. Meanwhile, they will be labeled coarse or uncaring. You can look at that and be like, oh, look at how coarse that is. All those rocks and the water hitting them and the moss growing on them and all of that. Like you can
Right.
see it that way. In the manifestation, it seems unpleasant, and yet the reality behind all of that is that there is so much healing being done right there.
It is healing. I mean, people are now using stones, same concept, using
Mm-hmm.
stones in massages. We're going to
Yeah,
heat, what are they going to heat them up? Radiation. Heat them
that's
up,
right.
put them on your body. It's the same concept. So
Yeah,
we should use Mother Nature as a part of our healing process because it is full. It has the highest level of energy that can be bestowed to anything on this planet.
absolutely.
So I just want, but today's message was so powerful because I walked right into quote unquote these teachings
Yes.
without knowing it. So I guess that was the message for me for today.
And this last line is yet in their heart, in the energy of who they are, in their being, in the people and the rocks and the stones and everything, shines a light for all things. It doesn't
Yeah,
reject anybody. It doesn't put anybody out. It's just being you.
being you.
Oh, Empress, I love you, and I am so excited to get your ass up here in Chicago
Oh yeah,
again.
I can't wait to get back home,
Yeah,
and just continue what I do, and just continue get back on that lakefront so I can just heal some more. And I miss that lakefront. I'm telling you, I had a particular place. I lived in Hyde Park,
yeah.
so
Okay.
I had a particular place on the lakefront. I called my suite.
Mm. Go on.
So every day I went to my suite.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll be in touch. Thank you so
Yes.
much. You got my number. Get
Yeah,
me
I'll give you a
yours.
call. Yeah, I'll give you a
Yeah.
call. I got my number changed.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll
All
talk
right.
soon.
Love you.
All right. Love you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Okay. Thank everybody for coming up. I am calling it. Unfortunately, wait, Julie, you're coming in late, girl. I, I'd love to just call it right now, but I can't let Julie hang. How you doing, girl?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm
I'm doing
just
really well.
What I'm doing is I am the late runner,
Yeah.
hoping to win the derby.
Yes. Right.
You are on my Apple iPad today, so I've got a bigger
Oh,
picture of you
look
as
at
I'm
that.
chatting to you.
I'm always on my iPad. So here we are iPadding it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I like living the dream.
I've been doing quite a bit. You know, it's like if it was anybody else, I might have just cut out, but I'm really glad to see you.
Yay, and me. I've had a very
That's
exciting
right.
24 hours, I have.
Have you? Tell me.
Yeah, I was chatting. I'm trying to get finances to do this
The teepee.
course.
Oh,
No,
the
not the
course,
TP, the
oh,
course. Yeah,
good.
I'm very interested in that because I like to figure out how our
Hypnotherapy.
mind and our subconscious helps with pain.
Yeah.
So
How
I've
so you're on a you're in a funding spree right now.
no, this is what I've got to tell you. You see.
Tell me.
I did try knocking on a few doors and asking because I always think if you ask for things, there's only two answers, and neither of them can cause you any real damage.
Right.
This is the thing. So I ask, I ask the ether or the Tao, as you might say,
Huh?
is this my path? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? I'm going to work towards this then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was knocking on doors and going, I need to get some finances. Let's go through the government websites and all of that stuff to see if I can get student bursaries and all this kind of
Yeah.
malarkey. And I kept getting stuck, So I rang my daughter up, Jaleesa, the one who lives in Cornwall,
Okay.
the one who rescued me from Land's End.
Yes.
And I was talking to her and she said, right, she said, I'm pretty good, pretty hot on form filling. I'm pretty cool at it. It's what I do for a living. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll work this one through with you while you're on the phone. So we did that. We went through. I gave her all the details of everything that I needed. She got stuck in exactly the same place as me. And
Hmm.
then she said, just, I'm going to just pay for it. I'm going to pay for that course. I'm
Nice.
going to invest in you. And that's what that lovely little thing on my Instagram was about, was that
Aye.
somebody believed in me.
That's what we were talking about the other day.
Yes, exactly. So this is how these things work. It's very strange, isn't it? Because we were discussing it. I was asking how you, what is your idea of what success is? Because it's obviously individual to each person, not necessarily to masses. Because we decided there is no such thing as masses. There's only individuals, which is correct. And anyway, she popped on this thing. She filled in all the details. She paid the money. So I start the course. I do it.
When? When do you start?
1st of November.
And how long is the course?
It's a year.
Good on you.
So it's a long time, but it'll be
Oh, whatever.
very
What's a
educational.
year? Come on, it's a long time. Good.
It's not a long time. It's a blink of an eye. It depends
Yeah.
on your
No.
perspective, doesn't it? But
That's right. Like if you're 1 years old, that's a long time because it's 100% of your life. It's not 100% of your life. You're good.
not yet.
You've lived through.
I'm Britvic this year.
Yeah.
Sparkling.
So let's get a number in here and then let's talk about it.
Let's go for number 30.
So this is perfect, I think. Tao does not dominate. Governing in any capacity when led by Tao does not force to gain power. Every force applied will suffer equal counterforce. So violence, however it is intended, will always rebound upon oneself. You know, I look at that as being like you and your daughter both getting stuck. You know,
Yeah.
you're trying to force this thing.
Yes.
Where armies march, briars grow, and in their wake follows hunger and villainy. Skillful in what she does, the master achieves her goal and stops, neither forcing nor manipulating further. She knows that dominating goes counter to Tao, and whoever opposes Tao will certainly die early.
Wow. That is a a beast, isn't it? Number
It is.
30 is a
Yeah.
beast, but it is so correct in what it says. If you force any issue, any experience, or any thought, or any kind of from you, if you force it, then you become. If I said to you, forcing an issue is like trying to force a wall of water. So you push against the water with force and you meet with tension,
Mm-hmm.
you meet with resistance. That's what's meant. So if you are forcing, you will come across this resistance. The door will close. If you let things just be and just be gentle and go with the flow, your hands will reach straight through that water. You'll be able to get right through it and you'll be able to go in the direction that it is. Nothing to do with what you want or what you wish. It is what is. That's the point of it. If this is the direction I'm supposed to go in, then I will do it. But no matter what I do, to force that issue, it won't make it happen. It won't make it happen in the way that I think or control or plan. It just won't happen that way.
Right.
So that's the way I see that.
It's
Just,
interesting. Like we addressed that first part, right? Governing in any capacity when lent by doubt doesn't use force to gain power. And that using force was like you're trying to do this by forcing yourself and forcing upon yourself like this application and this way
yes.
of trying to, like get help
Yeah.
to do this. And that's the only way that you can see at the moment, and every force will suffer an equal counterforce, so you get stuck. That's that wall and the water. Nobody's moving. Everybody's stuck here. So violence or force, however it is intended, will always rebound upon oneself.
Yeah.
And then they have this interesting line where armies march, briars grow, and in their wake follows hunger and villainy. If you were to force yourself to finish that and get witty and crafty, as it says in the Tao sometimes,
Yeah.
if you were to force through that, you would and submit it. In their wake follows hunger and villainy. So like a briar would grow there. You may even get upset. You may have like resistance. You may be, like, and I know the feeling of like having to capitulate to things and then you feel a little sick to your stomach that you had to give in to someone else's desire, to someone else. You had to go about it in their way rather than
Had
going
to
about it
jump the
your way.
hoops.
Right, you had to jump through hoops, and then you get a little fucking like you get a little tinge, right? You're like, oh, I got a bad taste in my mouth over that experience, and because of that, there's that hunger and villainy, that hunger to be seen, and the villainy because you're like, well, why do I want to do this, and why do I want to go along with this? And then it moves into how the master acts, skillful in what she does. The master achieves her goal and stops. It's like now that you're here, there's no reason to manipulate the system anymore. There's no reason to try and prove your worth anymore. There's no need to try and do any of that jumping through hoops anymore. Neither forcing nor manipulating further. She knows that dominating goes counter to the Tao. You don't have to dominate. You don't have to beat them at their game. You don't have to dominate them to get what you need, to get what you want. And I look at this and I can't help but get a little emotional about, we met a little under a year ago. And who you are today, and what you are achieving today, and how you are able to be today is a remarkable shift in where you were a year ago.
Yeah. How lovely it is. How lovely it is to see, even for me, It's put into perspective all of the ripples in my existence, every single one.
Yeah.
And I can feel every single one with no judgment. No, it's good, it's bad, it's indifferent. It's just all experience. It's all was, is, all combined in one space. And to see that and feel that is really quite wonderful.
Mm.
It is a beautiful answer to curiosity that I
Yeah.
can sit with.
Yeah.
So that is good. So
And then
yeah, I am in a good place and I
yeah.
will sit
And it's
now.
yes, you know, like with every action comes a time of stillness. And so this is the time of stillness.
Yeah.
And come November 1st, there's going to be more action. So so what's going on with the TP?
Sorry. Oh, well, the TP is also going to be a wonderful experience that I could probably share with others
Yeah.
in a
So
lovely kind of a
is that
retreat way.
is there so are you so is the TP and is the course online or is it in a
Yeah,
place?
the course is online, but
Okay,
you
so you can
do,
do it from a TP.
yeah.
Perfect.
Also, you need to have one-to-one
You need to, yeah,
interaction.
you
Yeah,
need to practice.
yes,
Yeah.
and also you have a tutor as well, so that's good. It's all
Good.
all very good, but
Good.
it is practicable. It is a skill that
Yes.
can come with my essence wherever I go. It's nomadic as I want to be.
Yeah.
And that is lovely. That is lovely. I
Right.
can do it when everything is as it should be, as comfortable as it can possibly be, and then I can not do it when I don't want to do it. You
Right.
know, so it's always going to be in a I'm going to be in a good space, which is nice as well.
Yes. You
Yeah,
have, yeah, like a good space is a place that you've created within you.
yeah,
And that's something that you'll never lose.
which is lovely to know.
Yeah.
Because some days I do have days still where I'm like,
Of course we do. Of course we do.
but that's good because
Yes, it is good.
it's a great thing to experience.
Just keep, you know, like I was talking with Allison earlier, and like just keep remembering that you are the mother. Like you have birthed that experience.
Yeah,
It's not separate from you,
that's right.
you know?
Yeah,
Oh.
how
Thank you so
lovely.
much for coming up, Julie. I love you. I'm so excited for you. And I hope Nottingham can turn it around.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Also, I still see you in that stream, Martin John. I still
Oh,
see you in that river floating close by to me. So that is
yeah.
comforting.
Well,
It's
good.
lovely.
I'm right here. Always
I'll
right
keep
here.
waving. I'll keep waving at you.
All right. I'm
Thanks
waiting.
so much.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day and congratulations.
Thank you. Take care, lovely. Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Okay, now I'm calling it because somebody needs some lunch. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Tao of the Day. We covered so many today. Like, wow, I have, you know, more recently kind of cut these off at an hour, but I've been extending them. I'm interested in just continuing to talk about Tao. So, thank you so much once again. And if you are interested in the work that I do, you're going to want to check out my website, martinjohn.com. You can purchase my workshop there. My workshop, my Recover Yourself workshop, is available to for owning for ever. It is a 2-hour workshop in a video, so it's a video workshop that you can go over, and it's wonderful in helping you really kind of recover yourself, really understand who you are. Julie was a person who has been through that workshop, through a workshop one-on-one. I don't know if she was the only person in that workshop, but she did go to one of my live workshops, and And I believe she would still tell you that it's something that really changed how she sees the world and how she understands things. And understanding how you can recover yourself is at the core of what the Tao is and what I speak about and everything that that is out there. And I was talking to Tina earlier, and her and Mojo are doing something that resonates with all of the recover yourself work that I talk about. This idea that we are living under the influence, and how do you get out from under the influence of your parents and all of the influences that you've picked up over the years. And so that's a big part of what I talk about. And once again, if you benefit from this work and you'd like to send a little tip, you can send that through Venmo at martinjohn_Garcia. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.